To come on this live broadcast. As you can see, my very special guest, all the way from West Virginia, with us on this live broadcast, Dr. Lynn Hiles. Thank you so much, sir, for taking the time to sitting down with me. Let's first of all start with your introduction because you have 44 years you've been in the ministry, but you're only 29 years old, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got children older than that. I look at some of the preachers I'm preaching for today, and I've been preaching longer than they've been alive.
That is so true. So
Yeah.
tell me about yourself. If somebody's missing, you've been in the media, you've been at the forefront of, building pulpits, traveling, you've done a lot.
Yeah. Well, this is our 40. We're starting the 45th year of being in full time traveling ministry. I don't pastor; I travel all the time. So I preach a different place almost every week, and then I have hosted a national television program for. This is our 14th year on national TV, and I've written 5 books, and just really enjoy preaching the gospel. Probably been a pioneer in some areas, especially the gospel of grace and the kingdom and the finished work of Jesus Christ are my main themes. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yes. And also, one of your book that you've written called the beauty of God and beast.
Yeah.
So something like that. And
Yeah.
I was like, and that's very close to it's a God's beauty and the beast. So I
Right.
was like, that's almost like a Disney movie, like Beauty and the
Yeah.
Beast. So
Yeah. Yeah.
tell
That's
me.
kind of the play on the words that was there a little bit. That was my first book in 1993. That book is almost out of print.
Wow.
And then I've written 4 more since then. Unforced Rhythms of Grace. I wrote a book called The Revelation of Jesus Christ. I wrote one called From Law to Grace, a Kingdom Paradigm Shift. And my latest one is called The Great I Am. So that's my 4 latest books. God's Beauty and the Beast is pretty much out of print. It's just about, it really needs some update. I highly recommend my other books first,
Yeah.
but it really is about, it's really about Adam and Christ, 2 men in the earth. The first man was of the earth, earthy, and the second man was the Lord from heaven. Beauty and the Beast.
Wonderful. So we will go towards your books, but I want to dive deeper into what is your over the years. What has been your message? What has been your niche that you've seen that you preached and people lives transformed?
I think probably the biggest emphasis that I have is being able to rightly divide the word of truth, which to me doesn't mean knowing Greek and Hebrew. It means knowing what is truth in relation to the old covenant and what is truth in relation to the new covenant. And my main emphasis has been the fact that the new covenant is not an addendum to the old covenant. It's a brand new covenant. And of course, the book of Hebrews, it's full of better promises, better blood, better sacrifices, a better temple, a better city, a better priesthood, everything about it was better and more excellent. So I think a lot of people do what the Apostle Paul said. They preach a mixture of law and grace, which he calls a perversion of the gospel. And for me, the clarity that it brings, understanding the difference between covenants and why God acted like he did, was based on the covenant he was in with those people.
Wow, this is good. And then, how many countries have you been? And tell me some of the miracles that you have seen, and or how your message impacted the lives of people.
Well, I've traveled to, I lost count of them. I've been to Malaysia. I've been to the Netherlands. I've been to most of the islands of the sea. I go to Brazil quite often. I'll go to South Africa this year, will be my first time in South Africa. Brazil is probably my largest audience by
Wow.
far. And the power of the camera has been
And
responsible for
why is
totally,
that?
because the people are so hungry for the gospel of grace. And unlike America,
Mm.
they come out to these meetings. I was just on my way to the meeting last year, and it was a traffic jam. And I thought, well, there must be a football game or something here. And when we got there, the traffic jam was because they were coming to hear me preach. And it was thousands and thousands of people who were watching, had been watching me on YouTube. And so all these pastors had actually got real familiar with my ministry through our YouTube. Amazingly, to me, was I had a bigger audience in Brazil than I do in the U.S. So we're returning there again in July. So
This is
It's been amazing,
phenomenal.
and that the people's lives just transformed by it. I think that the main thing is that when the old covenant is about a law you have to keep. The new covenant is about receiving a life that'll keep you. Under the old covenant, it operates by rules, and the new covenant operates by relationship. And the old covenant, you motivate people with fear, and the new covenant is by faith. And that's just a few things. And when you start to see people get their life back, and then it removes all of the fear and the doubt, because the scripture said when the law is preached, it shuts up faith. So you see people begin to get healed, set free, delivered, because they realize, God isn't mad with me; He's mad about me.
Mm.
And he's more willing to heal me than he is to punish me. And so, I think we put a great emphasis, especially under an old covenant paradigm, where God is always out to get you, and we don't see him as what Jesus introduced, and that's a good father. So I don't know how
Yes.
much you want me to talk. I don't want to just
No,
monopolize the
you're doing
conversation.
great. I don't
Yeah,
want the answers to be very short. That means I would have to ask you more questions,
thank you.
but your answers are wonderful. And then also, um, you said your largest audience is in Brazil, and you're not Brazilian looking guy, right? So
No.
you're not speaking Portuguese. So why Brazil?
Well, the what happened is that someone who knew my ministry told some of the pastors there to start watching me on YouTube.
Okay.
And so I got an invitation to come, which I get a lot of invitations, so you don't know whether they're legit or not. But this guy that I went to first, he came over here to meet me,
Yeah.
and the recommendation to go there came from a very large ministry, and I knew it was legit. So I responded to him, and I went the first time, and this was a young pastor, and he had a couple hundred people. This time I went, he had well over 1,000.
Wow.
And then while I was there, after I got back, I got invited to Rio de Janeiro by another pastor. And when he invited me, this pastor that I knew that I'd been to said, "This guy that just invited you to Rio has a church of over 5,000 people. This is a major invite." And so when I went to Rio de Janeiro, there was well over 5,000 people, but there was another pastor from the south that came up that has well over 10,000. And so the crowds were just phenomenal, and I mean, the presence of God was electric. I mean, it was electric in that place, and people were just set free and delivered and healed, and all kinds of stuff happened, in those meetings. Although I'm not really an evangelist in the sense of evangelical to, go preach crusades, mine is more apostolic or prophetic, where I probably help churches break through to a new covenant mindset, and even moving the fivefold ministry into a new covenant mindset. Even I think that the prophetic especially needs some real upgrades, because a lot of our prophets that we have today are prophesying from an old covenant paradigm. And Jesus rebuked Peter after the Mount of Transfiguration event, when God spoke from the heavens, said, "This is not about," Peter wanted to build 3 tabernacles, one for Moses and one for Elijah and one for Jesus. He wanted to make it Jesus plus the law and the prophets. And the Father said, "This is my son, hear him." And so when they came down out that mountain, of course, Jesus was the fulfillment of the law and the prophets. And so when they came down out of the mountain, Jesus set his face as though he would go to a certain city, and the people of the one city did not receive him. And Peter said to him, "Lord, you want us to call down fire from heaven like Elijah did?" He's using an old covenant paradigm. And Jesus turned around and rebuked him and said, "You don't know what spirit you're of. The Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives. He came to save them." And so, he was trying to shift Peter from an old covenant judgmental, God is mad, let's call down fire from heaven, to seeing him differently, and that I didn't come to destroy men's lives. I came to, to save them. He wasn't rebuking Peter for having a demonic spirit. He was rebuking him for having an old covenant mindset. And it would be quite a paradigm shift, when you've been under an old covenant for 1,500 years, and all of a sudden you don't have to go back to the temple and offer a blood sacrifice, or circumcision is no longer in the equation, and all of the stuff that belonged to the old covenant is no. It would be quite, and there was quite a transition that was taking place in the early church, even in those days. And I think it's a tragedy that here we are in the new covenant, and we still have a lot of old covenant mindsets that people are trying to operate under. So that's kind of some of the thrust and stuff that and I mean, I preached to some large venues here in the U.S., but just the hunger level in Brazil has went beyond anything I've ever seen in any other country that I've been. I would say it's one of the most effective doors, other than maybe Malaysia, that I've ever been to. So
Yes, absolutely. I've been to Brazil and preached, I think, in three or four major cities in Brazil, like Campinas, which is like outside of São Paulo, and then São Paulo, Rio, a couple of cities surrounded by. And in 2015, I went there. I was about probably 23 or 24 years old. So a phenomenal country. Love the food. People are amazing, and very great hospitality, and then very welcoming people. And majority
yes,
is Catholic, but again, people are very loving. So let's now. This is awesome. Your message. I love what you preach, and that's great. What things that you've been able to do. So you used to, as we coming towards the end of our, and this is to short questions as we coming towards the end of our program. So you used to host a national broadcast program, Dr. Lynn Hiles, right?
yep.
And the name of the program
That
was
that you might have life.
You Might Have Life. Yeah. So tell me about it. And are you still hosting that program, or do you
Yes, yes,
taste?
yes.
Go ahead.
I'm still hosting it. It is on the Impact Network. It is on prime time in the East Coast. It comes on at 12:30 a.m. on Tuesday evening, and then it airs, of course, across all the other time zones in prime time. Someone sent me an email today and told me they were running bonus runs in your time zone at 3 p.m. So
Oh, at
that was our
Central Time.
original time slot. So they might still be running some of the programming there, for us. They've been pretty gracious to give us bonus runs.
That is great. And also, what I love, and this is going to be my last question, and also just a comment I'm going to make. So you said my greatest accomplishment is not the books, although you've written books and uh, many books, but you said or build or actually spoke on the platform, but uh, raising two sons who embrace Jesus Christ and continue to the heritage of the Christianity. Why do you say that?
Well, I think that the gospel to me, I'm these days I'm not preaching for popularity. I preach for my posterity. I
Yeah.
want to leave a legacy of people that want to. My dad was the real deal, and that his integrity, passed on to me. And my two sons are both pastors, and their children can't hardly wait to get to church and worship Jesus. I think when you take again the fear out of it, the real gospel gives you back your life. And so we have enjoyed the blessing of our family serving God. Matter of fact, my youngest son is the executive producer for our TV stuff, and he's my right hand man. Of course, my wife works for me as well. When we were on the church channel TBN, they asked me how many people we had on staff. I said three. They said, "There's no way you're producing a product of
Wow.
this level with the staff of three," but that's what we're doing. So we are, it's amazing that we've been able to do this without pastoring a local church. So everything for us comes from partner base or traveling or book sales and so forth. So that's how we basically have done it. But it's been nothing short of a miracle because we've been on for 14 years. So
Wow,
God's
wonderful.
been good.
So, does your wife also host the show right alongside you, Joyce, or she loves camera, or?
No, no, she does not like the camera. My youngest son is not crazy about the camera. He said, "I don't know if I'm ready for that yet, Dad." But my oldest son will be filming with me tomorrow when we're in studio. It's been a little while since I've had him on, and so he will be in studio with me tomorrow. We'll be filming all day tomorrow. But no, they don't like the camera. They just as soon be out of the spotlight. My wife does not like all of the hype, and she doesn't want to sit up front most of the time. She loves the Lord and is fully on board with everything we're doing, but she's just happy to
She
not be
leaves
in
the
front of the.
camera's job to you, right?
I
So
guess,
it's
yeah,
like you go get the camera.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Lynn. I appreciate you. I want to encourage people, those who are wondering about, hey, how we can watch the show. You can go on the YouTube. You can watch the show there also, and also follow Dr. Lynn Hiles on Facebook, on the various platform that is available. Also get his book. Make sure to go visit his website. Sir, I'm gonna let you say your website.
Okay, it's www.lynnhiles.com. And on that website, there's a direct link to our YouTube channel, our podcast, and RSS feed for Android devices, and a whole host of our, itinerary and products we have available.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
sir. God bless you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
the
God
audience for
bless you.
watching. And I don't take your time for granted. Continue to share this video. And I appreciate you every time you come on to watch and share our videos and comments below.